Hi everyone, welcome back to the workshop and it's review time again. Now you might be excused for recognising this box, a Fumeclear Fume Extractor, because in my last review video I did actually review the Fumeclear FC-2001A Fume Extractor, and when I contacted Fumeclear right at the start I was given the choice, do I want to review that one or this one, and I chose that one because it's quite a bit cheaper and I thought it was more appropriate for the electronics engineer with a small workbench, that sort of thing. However, I got quite a good response from that video, so I contacted Fumeclear again and says, look, just send me the larger brother, the FC-100A, and I'll review that one also. Now I should point out I've received this free of charge for the purposes of review. So let's get it unboxed. So this unit here, as well as being aimed at desktop soldering, it's also aimed at the likes of laser cutter engravers and welding applications, that sort of thing. So it has quite a bit more suction than the FC-2001A. But anyway, let's get it unboxed and we'll take a look at it. So first out the box is the pipework. Quite a bit longer than the one on the FC-2001A. That'll come in real handy. A small instruction manual there. IEC cable. Well, here's the unit itself, and yes, it is a bit bigger than the FC-2001A. And you've got a nice front panel on here with a digital display. Main switch on the side, IEC socket there. Yep, we'll take a look at that. You also get 9 spare filters. I presume you get 10 and one's already pre-installed, but 9 spare filters, that's pretty generous. And this is the part I like. It comes with a remote control. Yes, it's remote operated, which means, unlike the FC-2001A, which you have to really have to hand at arm's length, this can be positioned quite far away and out of arm's reach. Perfect. What strikes me about these units is the quality of it. It really is pretty good, and this badge here, this Fumeclear logo text on the front here is raised off of it. It looks like it's aluminium there and it's raised off of the front. They could have just put a sticker on there, but no, I quite like that. And the panel itself, yes, I do like that as well. Now I'm sure we'll get into it, but the 5 buttons on the front, looks like you got a flow rate, the fan adjust speed up and down on the front there, on off button, a time set button, so whether you can set that to run for a particular length of time and stop, and an OK/setting button. But we'll get into that. Looks like you got a power LED here, the digital display as I mentioned, and it looks like that's the IR receiver for the remote control. And on the side here we've got an illuminated on-off switch, fuse, IEC socket there, and the sticker on the side, a little bit of specifications here, air inlets 50mm. The input voltage says it's AC 220, so whether you've got to specify if you're wanting 120 volts, I'm not too sure. I'll need to take a look at that. It's 100 watt when it's running obviously, and the filtering effect 0.3 microns at 99.97%. 0.3 will be the HEPA filter operation there. The noise less than 50 dB, the flow rate 200 meters cubed an hour. That's 117 CFM as opposed to the 70 CFM on its smaller brother there. So quite a bit more suction power. And the weight 7 kilograms in the size there as well. But before I turn it on, I do want to take a look inside. Now, as per the smaller brother, you've got these metal clips on the side. I do like them. No screwdrivers required or anything. Just unclip them and the top comes off. You've got the neoprene gasket there, the raised gasket in order to present a cavity so that the whole top of the filter is used. It's not sealed down onto here directly. And this will be the pre-filter. Yep, that's the 10th one that we've got there. Below that we've got the HEPA and carbon filter, two little handles here to lift it out. And wow, that's quite a bit bigger than the FC-2001A. What a size. You've got the HEPA filter on the top here and the carbon filter in the bottom, all built into this one integrated unit. And I think you can buy spares. You can obviously buy spares of the pre-filter, and I think you can buy these also. But and how long something like this will last, I'm not too sure. I suppose it depends on how much filtering you're doing. And below that we've got a brushless fan in the middle there, and again the neoprene gasket, the thick neoprene gasket, in order to present a cavity to the bottom of the filter so that it's using as much size of the filter as possible. And I do like these clips. They're made out of steel there, and they're pop riveted to the main enclosure there, but they do feel quite robust there, a lot better than some of the plastic ones I've seen on other types of units like this. Now before I put it back together, I do want to take a look at the underside, and I'm going to take off that bottom panel. But as you can see, there are the outlet vents where the clean air after all the filtration is exhausted out of the unit, and they're pointed in that direction there, so that they're not coming out towards the user. But anyway, let's get the bottom off and take a look inside. Now obviously you're not meant to go into the insides of the unit, and there is actually a warning sticker on the underside. There's no maintenance items inside the bottom cover, but you know me, can't resist taking a look. And here we are inside the unit. We've got the IEC connector, etc. at the right hand side here. Nicely crimped and shrouded terminals there, not too bad. And of course you've got the earth connection down onto the chassis there. That chassis connector doesn't have any evidence of the white paint being scraped back to make a nice good contact. So I'm actually going to take that off to take a little look. Then you've obviously got the earth coming down onto the main board. Over here we've got the brushless motor, 3-wire design, way off back onto the PCB here. We've got a heat sink here, so obviously underneath that we've got the probably got a bunch of MOSFETs there for driving the brushless motor. We've got a couple of electrolytics down here, and back along down here onto the input side, the AC input coming in. Common mode choke there, protection devices, yep, all looking pretty good. And over at this side here, we've got this cable here, it goes away down onto the front panel. You've got a buzzer there, looks like it's some sort of optional connector, and a potentiometer. And the board does have a conformal coating on it, a nice thick layer, so that's pretty good as well. But before I box it back up, I do want to take a look at that earth connection there. Yep, and as expected, they've not scraped the paint away on that there, so I'll go ahead and do that. And the star washer here is actually way too big. It looks like an M4, maybe even an M5 star washer for the M3 screw that's being used. Oh well. Yes, and the crimp's the wrong size as well. That looks like M4 to me. But yeah, I'll just stick them on. Well, that's about the only complaint I've got about the underside of this unit, and that's that earth connection. Everything else looks spot on. Now, I don't advise you going into this yourself in order to fix that. Only do it if you're experienced. One thing I have noticed, the FC-2001A over there did actually have some sound deadening material in and around the underside of the unit. They haven't done that on this unit, and to tell you the truth, I'm not sure how effective it would be, especially given the size of this brushless motor and obviously the fan that you can see there, the housing there. Right, let's put the filters back in. The next thing is the actual pipework itself and the nozzle. So let me get it unbagged and we'll take a look at it. Yep, and this pipework here appears to be about double the length of the one on the FC-2001A. And the nozzle itself, yep, it definitely feels like silicone. Really nice sticky style silicone rubber there. And before I stick the pipework on, here is the actual attachment here, and you can see that you've got a cavity in there where it can utilise the whole top side of that filter there. Anyway, let's plug in the pipework. It just pushes in and it's quite secure there, and as you can see it moves around no problem. And in fact, unlike the FC-2001A, I actually had to hold on to it in order to move the pipework. There's enough weight in this unit to actually move it around without holding on to it. Now, one thing I have noticed, when you move the pipework around, it does tend to work it loose here. You know, it doesn't seem to have that good a friction fit there. And if you move the pipework around too many times, it does seem to work its way loose a little. I'd actually be tempted to put a little bit of glue or some kind around there, or silicone, in order to hold it in place. And the nozzle itself just pushes on here. Yeah, no problem, that's not going to come off. But anyway, let's get power into it and power it up. Okay, got the cable installed, let's power it on at the side. And it looks like it powers up into a standby state here. I haven't read the manual. Let's take a look at it and see how we get on. So we've got the flashing light there, so it looks like I can just press that and it'll power on. Yep, and I can hear the fan starting up. Wow, that's actually quite noisy. I hope you can hear me. I think that's on the highest flow setting. It does say 5.100 on the display. So yes, it looks like it goes down to its lowest setting, 5.010. I'm going to have to read the manual here to find out what those numbers mean. Well, it doesn't actually say in the manual exactly what those numbers are, but I think on the lowest setting there, that's 10%, and you can wind it up all the way to 100%. But what the 5 means, I'm not too sure. Has it got something to do with the time set? Well, let's press the setting button and see what happens. I'm really not sure at all. I think I might need to Google this. It goes to 0 when you press it once. Press it again, you've got 19. Is that the flow rate? Let's go up to the next one up. Go back in again. Yes, it is by the looks of it. Okay, the time set, I've worked out how that works. So you press it once, you've got this flashing digit here. You can just use up down buttons there. Set it to 1 minute. Okay that. And then the unit will run in the on state and turn off after 1 minute. And there it goes, it just switched off into its standby state. So I'll just manually put it back on. And let's see if we can work out the rest of the menus. So, setting. I'm not sure what the 0000 means. Maybe that is the state of the filters. Maybe that'll count up maybe when it gets a little bit clogged. Yep, and I've recorded all the different flow rates there for all 10 different settings. Now you will notice there is 5 LEDs there, So you kind of got one LED for two positions there, and the flow rates will range from 1921 all the way up to 6170 at setting 10. Okay, so whilst I'm trying to work out the functionality of the display, I thought we'd take a look at the remote control, because this is the part I would really like to use. So I think it's got a battery inside, because it's got one of those little plastic tabs that insulate one side of the battery, I think. So just pull that out, and I think it should be operational. So let's just press the power button. Yes! And I should be able to press the up and down buttons there for that fan speed. Yes! And you've obviously got the timer button over the right hand side. Yep, I'll just OK that at 0. I've got a lock symbol here. Let me try pressing that. Not sure what that's for. Does it lock the front panel? Yes, it does. And you can't even switch it off or do anything at all whilst it's locked. So I presume you hit the lock again to unlock. Yep. So a nice little remote control. Quite like that. But I would like to know at what sort of distance it can work from. Now I won't be able to capture that on camera, so I'll go off and do that and I'll report back. Well, it seemed to work to about 16 feet or just under 5 meters. I'd call that a win. That's pretty good. Well, here's something very curious I've noticed. I've got the unit powered on. As you can see, it's in standby mode at the moment, and the switch is in the on position on the side. But if I turn it off, power light's still illuminated. And if I wait long enough, you can see it does a double beep before it actually fully powers down. So what I think's happening is when you turn it off here, you've still got some stored energy and voltage in those two electrolytics, and as it dies down, there's obviously a comparator of some sort, and when it drops below a certain voltage, it's just got enough time to double beep the sounder before it actually loses power completely. Okay, so we're ready for some tests now. I'm not going to use solder this time. I've got some tip tinner, and it's actually quite smoky when you dip your soldering iron into. So hopefully you'll be able to see it a little bit clearer than you would with just using solder. So I'll put it at the 4-inch mark, and I'll turn the unit on onto the lowest setting, 10%. There we are, we're up and running. And I'll dip the soldering iron into the tip tinner. I think you can see that some of it's being drawn in, but there's quite a lot of it just escaping upwards. So I think we need to increase the fan speed. I'll go up to 30% and try that. Wow, that's a lot better. And I would say virtually 100% of it, no, maybe not quite. Every now and then some of it will waft past. Maybe that's my air coming out of my mouth when I'm talking, just disturbing the air there. I'm sure if we go up, let's go up to 50%. Try that. Yeah, it's catching everything at 4 inches away. Well, let's just go at 6 inches away and try that at the 50%. And I would say that it's not as good as I would have thought there. Let's try it up. Let's try it up to the maximum. Yeah, everything's being drawn in there. No problem whatsoever. Even when the smoke's trying to escape to the side, it's still getting drawn back. Now that's with the nozzle quite low down on the workbench. I'm actually going to raise it up to try and catch the smoke as it rises up. Let's just see how that gets on. Okay, the nozzle's about 7 inches off the workbench and about 8 inches away from my tip tinner. So let's try that. Oh, put power on again. And I'm on the 10% setting, the lowest setting. Let's try that. Yeah, I'd say maybe 40% of it's been drawn in. Let's go up to 30. Again, every now and then it'll waft right up into the nozzle. Every now and then it'll waft completely in a different direction. I think we need to go up a bit yet, so try 50%. Same thing again. We'll try 100%. And at 100%, it's not being drawn into the nozzle. Very curious. I was actually quite curious there. Even at 100% positioned like this, it wasn't drawing much of the smoke from a tip tinner up into it. And I would have thought it would have done that. It was definitely a lot better when it was down on the workbench. But of course, it could be the proximity of the unit here with the vent in the bottom to the nozzle. So let me make use of the long pipework and position this a lot further back on the workbench. So there we are, running at 10% again. Let's try that. Yeah, and as before, not a lot getting drawn in. Let me just go up to 50. That's not too bad. The odd waft is getting escaping the nozzle there. Let's try it further away. 8 inches at 50%. No, not effective at all. 100. That is working. About 50% of it's getting drawn in. I just think we're just too far away. Well, so what do I think of it? Well, it definitely operates well enough. But I wouldn't say it's streets ahead of the original unit I reviewed, the FC-2001A. Apart from obviously when you stick it right at the top end, the 100%, definitely got a lot more suction than that unit there. I'd also wonder whether the long pipework here is having some sort of effect on the suction, because the longer this pipe, the more friction you're going to get, the more air friction you're going to get inside it, and it will have some effect. So maybe that's having some effect way down at the 10% mark. But where I think this unit comes into its own is its use cases. With the remote control, with the timer, with the increased suction capacity, especially at the higher ends, it's definitely going to be more flexible on where you can position it, especially with the long pipe work. you know, whether you're using it for a laser cutter or something like that. But for the workbench, as I've got here, it would be questionable whether I would use it over the smaller one, the FC-2001A. The only thing I can think of that I think I might do with this unit is I could mount this unit under the workbench and have the pipework coming up through a hole at the back of the workbench. And I can use the remote control to operate it. And that'll have two benefits. Firstly, it releases some workbench space, because as you can see, that unit there does take up a little bit of valuable space on the workbench. And also, mounted under a workbench, it's probably not going to be so noisy. So I'll have a think about that, whether I want to go and drill a hole on the workbench at the back there and just have the pipework coming up through. So there we go, the Fumeclear FC-100A. I do like this unit. Definitely more capable at its top end. Now there's just a couple of things I wish they'd done slightly differently or better. Number one was that earth connection underneath. And number two is this 7-segment display here. So maybe slightly old-fashioned in trying to make letters out of the digits there. And these days it's not exactly intuitive. Back in day it was the in thing to do because you didn't have much choice. Possibly they could have used a more graphical LED or LCD there. But I guess that helps drive the price down. Well, as you can see, I've drilled a hole through the workbench and I've put the pipe through it. And of course the fume extractor is mounted down below the workbench. And it's actually a lot quieter down there. And of course I can move it around here and park it wherever I want to. So I'll just turn it on. I've got it preset to 50%. And it's so much more quieter, I can hear the airflow going into the nozzle there. Before, I couldn't really hear that. Perfect. Well, I've been in touch with Fumeclear. I asked them about the operating instructions for the front panel, and they've actually come back with quite a comprehensive little list of exactly how to use all the different modes and the displays, etc. So I'll leave that in a PDF in the video description below. But the bits that are standing out when I read through it is the 0000 that came up on the display. It's actually the total operating time of the machine, is what they're saying. And of course, I've just powered it up so it starts off at 0. And they do say that some older units display this in minutes, some newer units display in hours. So I suspect I've got the hourly one there. In addition, there is actually an alarm value, a sensitivity setting that you can change. And basically, the software monitors the RPM of the motor in real time, and if the speed rises above a preset threshold, the system will trigger an alarm. And this usually indicates that the airflow resistance has increased, which may be caused by filter clogging, hose clogging, or an airflow restriction in the system. So again, all that will be detailed in the PDF in the video description below. Now if you want to buy an FC-2001A or the FC-100A, there is a link down below. There's an exclusive 8% discount on both of these units. So just click on the link down below, or it's on screen now, and it'll direct you over to the website where you can make your purchase. But as I mentioned when I did the review of the FC-2001A, you can also buy these units from Amazon, but you'll only get the discount directly through the website. So thanks very much to Fumeclear for sending me both of these units at no cost. It's about time I had a more professional, less hacked together fume extractor on the workbench, and hopefully I'll be a little bit healthier as a result. Thanks for watching.